Welcome back to the Cardinal Report. Joining us as always to close things out is North Central Sports Information Director, Clark Teuscher. Clark, so an exciting weekend for the men as they qualified 12 entries and 8 events for the national meet, led by Josh Winder, who's ranked first in the pole vault.
Yeah, you know, Josh is preparing for his 6th national meet. He's been a 5-time All-American, won an indoor national championship last year. He'll be looking to close out his career with an outdoor title this year. He hasn't quite got to his personal best. It's about 4 inches higher than he's gone so far this outdoor season. So it's kind of encouraging for him to be the top-ranked guy, and he hasn't even touched, you know, what he's accomplished in the past.
And he's been sort of resting it up. He hasn't really competed too much this season. Do you think he's sort of been focused on this national meet since indoors?
Yeah, really. You know, since the conference meet got over with, you know, he took the last 2 weeks to just kind of train and get himself rested and ready for an all-out effort here this weekend. And I think that's been the goal probably since they set their plan up in March to begin the season.
In years past, the pole vaulters have had a number of athletes competing in the event, but this year, Josh will only be joined by one other teammate, Frank Leklinski. Is that a disadvantage to the team, not having a number of Cardinals in the event?
You know, we'll have to wait and see. You know, Josh certainly is a dependable guy on the top there, and, you know, Frank had to come up through with the season best performance last week to get in. You know, we've had guys in the past, you know, have to qualify there at the end and wind up doing pretty well at the national meet. So certainly there's some potential there. It's an event that rarely goes according to the seeding, so we'll just kind of have to see how it shakes out.
And the Cardinals are also showing their depth in the distance races as John Crane leads a nice field in the 10,000, but the 5,000, he's ranked 2nd nationally. He's got a chance to bring home the title in that.
Yeah, you know, he almost got it done indoors. Had a close call at the Drake Relay, so there's been a lot of these big meets where he's been in contention at the end and gotten nipped at the finish line. So another opportunity for him to kind of break that streak and put a win in there. You know, the 10K, they got 4 guys in. You know, one of them we weren't sure was going to get in, and, you know, there were some guys that opted out, and Travis Morrison got the 4th spot. He was the 20th position out of 20 qualifiers. You know, each of those 4 guys are going to have different race plans just based on their own strengths and their own abilities. So we'll have to wait and see how that shakes out. You never quite know how that race is going to play out at a championship meet, whether guys are going to hang back or try and stretch it out. So having that many guys in it is great, and they'll each kind of be able to key off each other and understanding of where they should be relative to their teammates. So that should make for an interesting dynamic as that race unfolds on Thursday.
Yeah, Daniel Curley and Roger Klein will be joining them in that race, and it's showing sort of the depth the Cardinals have from, you know, the cross-country season where they've been so successful. But it seems like in years past there's maybe only been 1 or 2 distance guys where it's carried over. But this year it seems like we're seeing more of that.
Yeah, you know, then most of those qualifying marks came pretty early in the season, which shows, you know, the training that these guys do, you know, throughout the year certainly paying off. You know, Daniel has the most experience out of that group out of any of them. He's been an All-American in that event the last 2 years. You know, John was at the Nationals in the 5,000 last year. You know, for Neil and Travis, this is their first championship on the track. For Travis, it's his first national meet period. So varying levels of experience and in terms of who's qualified for that. But I think, you know, the fact that these guys train together every day, and you know, you're going up against some of the best runners in the country.
Right.
You know, each week throughout your practice, it's certainly a bit of a callousing effect for what they're going to see at the national championship meet. So there won't really be any surprises in that respect.
And going up against each other really paid off for one of the seniors on the squad as Jordan Creamer sneaks in the 3,000 steeplechase, his first ever national meet. It's got to feel good as a senior. Yeah, you know, there were a lot of guys that qualified last weekend, and so as it turned out, the 2nd and a half that he improved by, you know, last weekend's meet turned out to be what got him in. If he hadn't gotten that done, then, you know, he'd be watching this weekend instead of racing. For a senior to go to his first national championship meet, I'm sure he's very excited, and he's got a chance to. He's been, you know, about that level in terms of the time, within 2 or 3 seconds of it the last 3 weekends. So, you know he's pretty dependable to run that kind of a race, which would be about what he'd need to run to get into the finals on Saturday. And another senior making his first appearance at a national meet, Joey Michaels, in the 400-meter hurdles. He's really, you know, seemed to find his stride in that event this year.
Yeah, Joey, as a senior, he's been balancing football and track and field since he's been at North Central. And this year, without having spring football to contend with, he's got a little more time to devote to track and field. And I think he's seen the results of that in terms of his improved performance over the last few weeks. He's popped a big personal best to get into the meet. He's also been running very well in the 4x400 meter relay. He's going to be on that team this weekend as well. Another great way to close out a career for a senior that's been a big part of that program. You mentioned the 4x4, Joey will be in that as well. But the Cardinals have had it's been hit or miss, I guess, in that event for them, whether they've done either really well or they seem to not even be near the podium. Well, some years you find yourself, with a real good group that you can count on to just run that event for you throughout the season. And they've kind of shuffled guys in and out this year. This last group is the one that's run the last couple of weekends that they declared for nationals. So they feel like that's kind of the most dependable of those groups there. And they have had some mishaps and some disqualifications, things like that at the national meet. I think 3 of these guys are going to be running this event at the national meet for the first time. So maybe a breath of fresh air to get in there and some first-time exuberance and maybe get them into the finals. And another Cardinal who'll be pulling double duty is Spink as he qualifies in the high jump. No surprise there, but also qualifying in the long jump, showing that versatility with his legs. Yeah, Zach cranked a big PR in the long jump at the Chicagoland Championships in early April. And that wound up holding up well enough to get him into the meet. In the high jump, he's qualifying for the 6th time. He's been a 2-time All-American, including the outdoor meet last year. He's another guy, he's about a ½ inch away from the personal best that he jumped last year to get into last year's meet. The high jump is another event that really varies greatly in terms of who performs well versus who's seeded necessarily. It's all about who's jumping well at this point, and a lot of his better performances in the high jump have come late in the season. The 2 events are on different days, so certainly plenty of opportunity to focus on each event individually, and we'll see how well he takes advantage of that. Well, it should be an exciting week. Clark, thanks so much for joining us. Thank you. The men's and women's track and field teams will take on the nation this weekend at the University of Wisconsin La Crosse in the Division III Championships. If you can't make the drive up north, you can find links to live streaming and results at northcentralcardinals.com. I'm Marc Dahlquist. We'll see you here next week on the Cardinal Report.